Okay. So Vidurji said that I am not satisfied. Please tell me more about the pastimes of the Lord. He wanted to hear more, and because another thing he's saying is dhrat vrata. Dhrat as in dharan karna. He has taken a strong vow to perform devotion service. So he wanted to hear more. And that is the only way when you want to hear more. You like to eat more because when you feel like eating more. Similarly, you would like to hear more when you have a desire to hear more. And for that, you have to take a vow that. Yeah, understand? So because he had taken vow, he wanted to hear. And now he wants to hear about the Hiranyaksh, the Chakshusha Manvantara when Hiranyaksh was killed. So he starts asking, he says that, my dear sir, that you have spoken about the killing of Hiranyaksh. Yeah. And also in the last chapter, the body of the Varaha Bhagavan is compared to Jitam Jitam Te Jitayagna Bhavan Tanum Traim Tvam. Yeah. Jitam Jitam Te Ajit Yagna Bhavan. O Ajit, O unconquerable Lord, your body is a representation of the sacrifice. Yagna Bhavan. Tanum Traim Swam Paridhunvate Namah. Yad Rom Garteshu Nililyur Udhyas Tasmai Namah Karan Sukarayate. O Varaha incarnation, you have when demigod saw when the rishi saw the Varaha Bhagavan who came out as a little from Brahmaji's nose, but as he became bigger and bigger, then all the rishis, these 10 rishis, son of Brahma, Sanat Kumar, Manu Maharaj, Shatupa, Brahmaji, they started offering prayer and they addressed him like that, you are the Yagna Bhavan, you are the Yagna, you are the sacrifice himself. Remember, we then read through the translation of the verses, and there all the rishis are telling him that this part represents the homas, this part represents the Vedas. So basically, your body is sacrifice personified itself. So now Vidurji is asking Maitreyaji that Harina Yagna Murtina, that Supreme Lord, Hari, who is the Yagna Murti himself, Adi Daityo Hiranyakshu, Hata Iti Anushrama. I have heard, indeed, I have heard through disciplic, Anu as in disciplic succession. I have heard through disciplic succession that Adi Daitya, who is the original Daitya, main Daitya, Hiranyaksha, right? Who was killed by Harina. And that Hari is Yagna Murtina. Yeah? He was killed by that. So I want to know more about him. And then he further asked that why did the fight happen between them? Yeah. Yasyo Uddhrata Shaunim. Yeah. The stung agrain Leelaya. The stung agrain on the front part of his tusk. Shaunim, when he was carrying the mother earth. Right? Uddharata, when he was taking it out of the ocean. Right? Daitya Rajasya Brahman. Right? Kasmat Abhun Mrada. Why did the fight happen? Kasma, what was the reason for fight between? Well, one is taking the mother earth out. So he's asking that why did the fight happen between Daityaraj and the Supreme Lord? And then he says, Shraddhadhanaya Bhaktaya. Yeah. Bruhi Tat Janma Vistaram. Rishe na tripyati manah param kautu halam hivi. This is how. Remember, go back to the first line. What did he say? He has his hands folded, and he's asking from Maitreyaji that I want to know that what was the reason of the fight between Harina, who is Yagna Murtina, and the Daityaraj, Hiranyaksh, who's Adiditya, why did the fight happen between them? I want to know about this. And then he says, I am not fully satisfied. Rishe na tripyati. Right? I am not satisfied. And then he makes two important words, very important to focus on. Shraddhadhanaya bhaktaya. With full faith, I'm asking. Sometimes we ask question to, test whether he says, we all know how we sometimes, test questions. We go humbly, Prabhuji, please. थोड़ा ज्ञान दीजिए, थोड़ा एक डाउट था, क्लियर कीजिए, right? We all know, but look, Krishna is watching. What is your intention? Let's be truthful. Like I said last time, in this, in this sangat, in this forum, in this environment, it does not work like that. He's sitting inside your heart. He's watching. Upadrashta anumantacha. He's sitting. He's watching right now. What thoughts is going on in my heart? If you really want to get it, Nirmal manjan so mohi pava, मोहि कपट छल छिद्र न भाव. भगवान राम ने बोल दिया. जब विभीषण जी गए भगवान के सामने, विभीषण जी शर्मा रहे हैं, विभीषण जी कह रहे हैं कि मैं रावण का भाई हूं. आई एम ए डीमन, हाउ विल यू एक्सेप्ट मी? भगवान राम ने कहा, निर्मल मन जन सो मोहि पावा. उन्होंने कहा अगर ये छल कपट से भी आया है तो इसको आने दो. लेट हिम कम. बिकॉज सुग्रीव एंड ऑल दे वर सेइंग ये तो रावण का भाई है, ये तो हमारा पता लेने आया है. भगवान ने कहा कोई बात, ये छल कपट से आया तो इसको आने, क्योंकि छल कपट वाला मुझको पा ही नहीं पाएगा. लेट हिम कम. क्या कहा भगवान ने? निर्मल मन जन सो मोहि पावा, मोहि कपट छल छिद्र न भाव. छिद्र मतलब बिल्कुल भी, दिस मच भी he doesn't tolerate, he doesn't like. In our mind we can be satisfied, we can tell each other, look, अरे क्या उसको मैंने टोपी पहना दिया और वो टोपी बना रहा है. he's making a topi for us. Yeah? So very important. So that's the point I'm making, Prabhuji Mataji. Vidurji is asking and Vidurji is saying, Shraddhanaya Bhakta. Bhagwan Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he also says. 6.47, Dhyana Yoga chapter, last verse. Yogi nam api sarvesham mad gaten antar atmana. Yo bhajanti mam bhaktya samay yukta tamam. Shraddhavan bhajte yo mam samay yukta tamam. जो मुझे श्रद्धा से भजन करते हैं, आप कितने ही बड़े योगी हो, योगी नाम अपि सर्वेशाम, of all the yogis, you may be greatest of the yogis. You can focus on something for thousands of hours, thousands of days, but श्रद्धावान भजते यो मां. अब या तो आप मान लो कृष्ण है या मान लो कृष्ण नहीं. इफ यू एग्री कृष्ण है तो कृष्ण की वाणी को मानना पड़ेगा, या फिर कृष्ण है ही नहीं, बात ही खत्म हो जाएगी. राइट? देयर इज नो टू वेज अबाउट. प्रेम गली अति साकरी ता में दो न समाए. उसमें दो नहीं जाएंगे, एक ही जाएगा. प्रेम की गली में सिर्फ एक ही जाएगा, नॉट टू. डुअलिटी उसमें खड़ी स्टैंड नहीं होता. ओनली वन वे एंट्री है और वन पर्सन की एंट्री है. तो विदुर जी कह रहे हैं श्रद्धाय भक्ताय. I have full faith and I want to progress in devotional service. So I'm asking, my dear sir, please tell me. And what does he want to know? Tat janm vistaram, his appearance. उसको विस्तार से बताइए, उसको elaborate करके बताइए. Tell me in detail about the appearance of the Supreme Lord. And then he says, Kautuhalam, I am so anxious, I am so anxiety. क्या हमारे मन में कौतूहल हो रहा है भगवान के बारे में जानने के लिए? होना चाहिए। ये यथा माम प्रपद्यन्ते तांस तथैव भजाम्यहम्। जैसा हमारा व्यवहार होगा भगवान वैसे रेसिप्रोकेट करेंगे। यादृशी भावना यस्य सिद्धिर्भवति तादृशी। जैसी आपकी भावना है सिद्धि भी वैसी ही हो। सिद्धि मतलब सक्सेस। So Vidurji asked these questions. I'm just trying to labor the same point so that we develop, and through speaking I develop that mood, and we all together develop that mood. So Vidurji asked this question. Now, after Vidurji asked this question, Maitriji became very happy, and that is today's verse. Maitreya Vacha Sadhu Viratvaya Prishtham Sadhu Viratvaya Prishtham Avatar Katham Hare Avatar Katham Hare Yat Tvam Prichasi Martyanam Yat Tvam Prichasi Martyanam Mrityu Pasha Vishatani Mrityu Pasha Vishatani. Now, when Maitriji spoke this, as if there was any doubt, that just by hearing the appearance of the Supreme Lord, can one be liberated? Then he gives an example. Yayo Tan Pado Putra Munina Gitaya Arbhakaha. So he says, Yayo Uttan Pado Putra. Who is Uttan Pad? Another son of Manu Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu's son, Uttan Pad, whose son was Dhruv Maharaj. So he is referring to Yayo Uttan Pado Putra, as if in that assembly somebody had a doubt. आप कैसा कह सकते हो? उसने कहा नहीं नहीं, जैसे उत्तान पाद के पुत्र ध्रुव महाराज, ये उत्तान पदो पुत्र मुनीना गीतया अर्भक. Munina, who did Dhruv Maharaj meet? Narad Muni. He met Narad Muni. Gitaya, when Narad Muni sang to him, and when he was Arbhaka, he was a little child. What to speak of grown up, when he was just a little child at that time only. He got liberation. And then he says, how did he get liberation? Then he says, Mrittayo Kritvaeva Angrihi. Yeah, he says Mrityo Kritvaeva. Yeah, he says Mrityu. When Dhruv Maharaj was about to leave this place, Mrityu personified came and stood in front of him. Mrityu personified came, and then he says Kritveva. Yeah, and then Murdhani Angrihim. Murdhani as in head. Kritveva as in he did. Right? The death was standing there, and then death personified bowed down in front of Dhruv Maharaj. And then Dhruv Maharaj, Murdhani Angrihim, he put his foot on the head of the death personified. And then what did he do? Aruroha Hare Padam. And then he went back to the abode of the Supreme Lord. He achieved the Padam, as in the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Hari. So if there is any doubt, he says just by hearing the topics of the appearance of the Supreme Lord, Uttan Pad's son, he achieved that liberation. And then he says, Maitreji tells Vidurji that I will speak to you now. I will speak to you about this, because I have heard this. I have heard this in an assembly where Brahmaji spoke to demigods. Brahmana Deva Devena Devanamanuprichyatam. So Brahmaji, who is the Dev, who is the God of the God, who is the supreme God or supreme Dev, demigod, Bhagwan se mat compare karo. But that Brahmaji, he was anuprichyatam. He was requested by the demigods. Devanam anuprichyatam. Once all the demigods had assembled and they had asked Brahmaji about this, about the incarnation of Varaha Bhagavan. So, my dear Vidur, I will speak to you the same pastime that was discussed at that point. So, we understand the background. We are all together. And now Maitriji starts speaking. He says that Diti, Ditir Dakshanaya, who is the daughter of Daksh. We have already discussed. We know Diti is son of daughter of Daksh Prajapati. So he says Diti, who is daughter of Daksh Prajapati, right? And she is Maricham Kashyapam Patim, whose husband is Kashyap, who is son of Marich, right? So that Diti, once Mother Diti, she was desiring to have a child. She was desiring to apatya kama chakame. Chakame as in desired. She desired to have a child. She desired to have the son. Once Mother Diti, whose daughter of Daksh Maharaj, Daksh Prajapati, who is wife of Kashyap Rishi, who is son of Marich, she desired to have a son. And when she desired to have a child, she approached Kashyap Rishi. And at that time, Kashyap Rishi, he was sitting in a trance. He was performing his sadhana, and he was sitting in a trance in a yagna place, in a place of yagna. Yeah. Asinam agnayagre samahitam. Samahitam as in he was sitting in a trance. Asinam, sitting. Samahitam, in a trance. Agnayagare, where the place of sacrifice is. That's where Kashyap Rishi was sitting. As Kashyap Rishi was sitting, Mata Diti, she approached Kashyap Rishi and she started speaking to Kashyap Rishi that please fulfill my desire. And she told him that all my co-wives, Sapatni Naam, Samriddhi Bhi, yeah, Prajavati Naam, all my co-wives, they are all rich. Why they are rich? Because they all have children. Prajavati Naam. They all have children and all my co-wives are rich. Right? So I desire to have a child. And my dear sir, because you are so powerful, Art up sarpanam, because Art, I'm distressed, I'm stressed out, right? And someone who is strong, so she's speaking philosophy to him. She's saying Art sarpanam, yeah, bhumanna, yeah, mahiyasi. Art sarpanam bhumanna hi mahiyasi, right? Art sarpanam bhumanna amogham hi mahiyasi. Yeah? Art sarpanam, because I am desire, I am stressed out. And you are a woman, you are great. When somebody goes to someone desiring for something, and if that person is great, if that person has the strength, then that person, amogham, he should not, like that person should not be failed. His or her desire should be fulfilled. So I have come to you, my dear sir, because I want to have a child, right? And all my co-wives, they have children. I am the only one who doesn't have children. And then when she said like this, then Kashyap Rishi, looking at the time, because it was the evening time, he was performing his sandhya. Sandhya is in sandhi. There are 3 sandhyas in a day. What are those? Brahma Muhurat, Madhyan, and evening. Brahma Muhurat is a sandhi because night and early morning. Sun is about to rise. Madhyan is because it's just getting into center. And the evening because day is about to end and night is about to begin. So it is said that there are three separate gods. So morning is Brahma Muhurat, afternoon is Vishnu, and evening is Lord Shiva. You know, in some of the temples you see in South India. Prabhu, please come here. Please sit here. Yeah, because in South India, some of the temples, Shiva temples, they do have what they call, वो झांकी निकालते हैं, भगवान को लेके जाते हैं, उसको क्या बोलते हैं इंग्लिश? What do you call it? Palki. Yeah. So in some Lord Shiva temples, they do that. You know, evening. So now, because it was the evening time, he was sitting in a trance. He was performing his meditation. So, but when Mother Diti approached him like this, now Kashyap Rishi tried to persuade her. He tried to tell her in soft words. He first tried to praise her. That look, you know, having a wife is so fortunate. You know, people who have the wife, they are so greatly fortunate, because only with the help of a wife, all the three purposes of life are fulfilled. What are those three purposes? Dharma, Arth, and Moksha. Kam and Moksha. Actually, yeah. So Earth is, they don't count in that sense, but you get Dharma, you get liberation, and you also get your desires fulfilled. So all the three main purposes of the life are fulfilled. And he says, to the extent, he is now trying to pacify, he says, to the extent that Yam Ahur Atmano Hi Ardham. Not just that, they are called the good half of the body, human body. Right? Like Patni ko Ardhangini kehte hain. So this is spoken by Kashyap Rishi. So Kashyap Rishi says that you are the good half. And you are so powerful. Right? The things that you can do, we cannot do. And this is true. He says, your prabhav, what you can do, we cannot even repay you. We cannot even do this in many lifetimes. Tvam anu kartum griheshwari. You are the griheshwari. Ishwari of the house. Grahe ki Ishwari. Tvam anu kartum. What you can do, we cannot do it. Na vayam prabhastam. जो आपका प्रभाव है, we can never repay you in this life or in other lives. You are so powerful. But this particular time, Maha Ghora Tama Vela. He says, just wait for a few seconds. Because this is very inauspicious time. And then he says, further he glorifies the Grihastha ashram. He says, Sarva ashraman, of all the ashrams, Swa ashramen kalatravan. Of all the ashramas, Grihastha. This is a very, Prabhuji Mati, please allow me to, speak a few things about this. Very often we see people, his husband says, oh, I'm going to the temple, I'm performing my devotional service. Please don't do that. Don't leave your Uddhav behind. Please stay together. Please keep each other together. आप अकेले भगवत प्राप्ति नहीं होगी. Sometimes we get too excited. Sometimes Matajis get too excited, or Prabhujis get too excited, or vice versa. But please, we have to keep it together. This is Kashyap Rishi saying. थोड़ा सा ऊंच नीच हो जाती है. There will be difference of opinion, but if you think you can leave your wife behind and you will be able to attain the Supreme Lord, that's not good thinking. We have to keep them together. Remember, Rishabdev says, Patirna sasyat. Patirna sasyat, janani na sasyat. Pita na sasyat, guru na sasyat. ना आपको पति बनने, ना आपको गुरु बनने का अधिकार है, ना फ्रेंड बनने का अधिकार है, ना आपको पिता बनने का अधिकार है, ना पति बनने का अधिकार है, ना माता बनने का अधिकार है. लेकिन भगवान ने ये नहीं कहा कि पत्नी बनने का अधिकार नहीं है, पति बनने का अधिकार नहीं. So the more responsibility lies with the husband. Very important. So here Kashyap Rishi is praising Mother Diti and he is telling her that yes, I will fulfill your desires. And that's what Lord Ram also, that's what Hanumanji is saying. Martya avtaras tab iha martya shikshan. आपने मृत्यु लोक में अवतार लिया है, भगवान किसके लिया है? To teach the living entities, to teach us. When it came to protecting Mother Sita or to get Mother Sita back, Lord Ram was prepared to do anything and everything. That is the lesson. We should, within your capacity, we should do everything. अकेले भगवत प्राप्ति नहीं होगी. ऐसा मत सोचो फ्रस्ट्रेट होके घर छोड़ के उनको डिस्कार्ड करने से, उनको गलत बोलने से नहीं होगा, नहीं होगा. So Kashyap Rishi is saying is Kalatravan, somebody who has a wife, he is so fortunate of all the ashrams, and with the help of the wife, he says Vyasna Aranavam iti ati. Vyasna Aranavam iti ati. Atteti atiti, as in this Vyasan, जो हमारे व्यसन है, all the so-called desires and etc that we have in this life, that is defined as an arnavam, that is like an ocean of desires which is very difficult to cross over. That you can cross like yatha jal yaner yatha arnavam. How on a ship you are able to cross that ocean. Similarly, by staying in a household life, in a grasta ashram, by serving all other ashrams, Kalatravan, if you have Kalat as a wife, you are able to cross over this ocean of all the desires with the help of a wife, as you are able to cross the ocean by going on a ship. So he says to her like this, and then he says, please wait. The time is getting this is very inauspicious time. And he reminds her that Lord Shiva is now out. Lord Shiva is at this time, he is out on his bull. And he's on his bull, and all the ghostly creatures, all the ghosts, they are also going with him. So this time is very inauspicious. He says that Tribhi, Devas Tribhi Pashyati. He has three eyes, Tribhi. He is the God of the God. He is the, super, like, Devadidev, Mahadev. Right? He has three eyes. Pashyati Devaraste. He is your brother-in-law. Because one of the other daughters of Daksh Prajapati was Mother Sati, who was married to Lord Shiva. So in a way, they are sisters, and Lord Shiva is her brother-in-law. So Kashyap Rishi is telling that Lord Shiva, who is your brother-in-law, he is moving out with all the ghostly creatures, and he has three eyes. He can see everything. And sometimes we think nobody is watching, but every time we are being watched, right? Pavan Devta, the air is flowing, so Pavan Devta is watching. Moon is watching at the moment we go out. So all these, we are being witnessed every time. So he tried to tell her that he is watching. And then he says, if somebody thinks that Lord Shiva is a fool, they take pride in this body. So sometimes we think, oh, who cares? Like I told you in the beginning itself, ya to aap maan lo Bhagwan hai ya Bhagwan nahi, matter khatam ho jata. Then there is no need to have it. मान लिया तो बस फिर मान लिया. Then there is no second thought, right? और नहीं मानना तो फिर कोई purpose नहीं. So Lord Shiva is out there. Lord Shiva is out there. No question about it. If you think I'm behind the wall, मैं तो दिख नहीं रहा हूँ शिव भगवान को, मैं कुछ भी कर लूँ, ऐसे तो काम नहीं होता. भगवान कश्यप ने बोल दिया है उसकी 3 आंखें हैं, तो देख रहे हैं अभी हम अच्छे से. He is watching us. So there now Kashyap Rishi again, he is again trying to labor the same point. He says people who are in the bodily concept, who are decorating this body with the mood that, that I'm going to be always here, ever present, ever like this, and that Lord Shiva doesn't care. For them, he says, this body is Shwabhojanam. Shwa is in dog. Dog will eat this body. This is going to become the food for the dogs if they are thinking like that. So please. But Mother Diti, she still did not listen or heed to the instructions of Kashyap Rishi. She caught hold of Kashyap Rishi, and then they associated in a secluded place. And then after that, Kashyap Rishi went and took his bath, and he again went into a trance. Now Mother Diti realized, I've made a mistake. She realized she had made a mistake, and then she went and stood in front of Kashyap Rishi. And she's telling Kashyap Rishi that please make sure that my embryo is, mera jo garbh hai, is protected from the wrath of Lord Shiva. Please. So she also had firm faith that Lord Shiva is there. And then she's saying that, Lord Shiva, he's my brother-in-law. And all the young girls, they actually worship Lord Shiva at the young age to get a husband. So she said, he's my brother-in-law. And at the same time, I have worshipped Lord Shiva when I was young girl to get a husband. So he will be merciful to me. He will be merciful to me. And then he offered prayers to himself. He says, Namo Rudraya Mahate. Rudraya, even though he's called Rudra, but he's great, Mahate. I pay my obeisances to him. And he's Nyast Dandaya. He can be very forgiving. And Midheshu, right? He can fulfill all the material desires. Shivaya Nyast Dandaya, Danda Dhrittaya, Mannesu, Manne. So he says Shivaya, he is very auspicious. He can fulfill all the material desires. Nyast Dandaya, he can be forgiving. But at the same time, in his angry mood, he can be very chastising also. Dhrita Dandaya. Dhrita Dandaya, he can punish you also. Nesta Dandaya, he is very forgiving also. Namo Rudraya, I pay my obeisances to that Rudra. Please. So she now prays to Kashyap Rishi that like this, may mere garb ki protection. Now Kashyap Rishi starts speaking to Mother Diti. And Kashyap Rishi tells her that everything was inauspicious. You did not listen to my instructions. You did not respect the demigods. The time was very inauspicious. The time, my instructions, the demigods. Right? So you did not pay attention to any of that. It was very inauspicious. Oh, Diti, you will have 2 sons. You will have 2 sons and they will be abhadra. They will create havoc. They will create all the problems for the living entities. They will make them cry. And then Diti asks what will happen. And then Kashyap Rishi says, Tado Vishweshwar. At that time, Vishweshwar, the Supreme Lord, who is the Ishwar of the Vishwa, at that time, Kruddho, he will get angry, in great anger. Tado Vishweshwara Kruddho Bhagavan Lok Bhavana. For the welfare of all the living entities, that Bhagavan, who is the Vishweshwar, he will get very angry. And then what he will do? He says, Hanishyati. Hanishyati avatirya aso. He will take avatar, avatirya aso. He will incarnate. And what he will do? Hanishyati. He will kill. He will take incarnation to kill aso, to kill your both the sons. And analogy he gives, how they will be killed. And he says they will be killed in a way like in this thunderbolt. How in this thunderbolt shatters the mountains. So it also says they will be so strong that for them the Supreme Personality of Godhead will appear and will kill them. And after hearing this, Diti was very happy. Diti said, "Oh, I'm happy that my sons will be killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And she says, "I'm happy. I was worried that they should not be cursed by a Brahman. They should not get the wrath of a Brahmana. Because if somebody is cursed by a Brahmana, somebody is unfavored by a Brahman. Or if somebody is fearful because of, if other living entities are fearful because of you." Two things, remember these, very important. Mother Diti is saying, if you are cursed by a Brahman, if other living entities are fearful because of you, then Mother Diti says, then no matter whichever hellish planet you go, wherever you go, even there you will not be taken care. Even within the same, and Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, it's like a dog. Do you see a dog and dog are friend? All the dogs in the street, they are chasing another dog. उनकी गति ऐसी होती है, ये माता दीदी कह रही है. People who are cursed by Brahmans and people who create fear in other people's mind. Because by creating fear, what are you doing? In their heart, where the Supreme Lord has to be there, now there is fear all the time in their heart because of you. So Mother Diti said, okay, I'm happy that my sons will be killed by Supreme Lord. Now Kashyap Rishi starts speaking again. Now it's, you can say, good talks or boon time. Now Kashyap Rishi tells Mother Diti that because, right, because you have so much adoration for the Supreme Lord. Why? Because she was happy for her sons to be killed by the Supreme Lord. Because she was happy, she was already asking forgiveness from Lord Shiva. She was already surrendering to Kashyap Rishi immediately after that. Kashyap Rishi said, Sadhyo Bhagavati Uru Manacha Bhave Mayapi Cha Adaram. Bhagavati, to the Supreme Lord, you have great adoration for the Supreme Lord, you have great adoration for Lord Shiva, and you have great respect for me. Because of that, your son, one of your sons will have 4 sons, and out of those 4 sons, one of them will be a great devotee of the Supreme Lord. And he will be so great that his greatness will be announced to the whole world. Gasyanti. One word is called Gayanti and other is called Gasyanti. Gasyanti means it will be broadcasted. His glories will be broadcasted to the whole world. Gasyanti yad yasha shuddham bhagavad yashasah samam. His pure yash, his pure glories will be broadcasted to the whole world, and they will be equivalent to the Bhagavad Yashasa Samam. So one of your grandson will be such a great devotee. And not just that, Diti. All the other sadhus, all the other so-called devotees of the Supreme Lord who was trying to purify themselves, they will imitate him. They will imitate him in what sense? They will imitate his qualities. And what are those qualities? They will imitate his qualities of nirvaira, having no enemies. They will imitate those qualities of your grandson. He will be Ajat Shatru. He won't have any enemy. He will feel happy in others' happiness. He will feel distress when others are in distress. And he will be so great. Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma. Please repeat. Savai Mahabhagavato Gavato Mahatma. Please, please. Remember, now let's just focus on every single word and then you will be able to repeat exactly the same. Please repeat. Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma. Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma. Mahanubhavo Mahatam Mahistha. Mahanubhavo Mahatam Mahistha. Mahanubhavo Mahatam Mahistha. Mahanubhavo Mahatam Mahistha. Pravriddha bhaktya hi anubhavitaşaye. Pravriddha bhaktya hi anubhavitaşaye. Nivesh vaikuntamimam vihasyati. Nivesh vaikuntamimam vihasyati. And he says, "Oh Diti, that grandson of your son, he will be Savai, Vai as in certainly, he will be Mahabhagavat. He will be a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of God. Mahatma. Mahatma is in Mahan Atma, right? He will be great soul. He will be very kind-hearted to all the living entities. And kind-heartedness means what? It just does not mean giving someone something to eat or protecting someone. Mahan Atma means when you are giving them the holy names, when you are helping them worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's when you become a Mahan Atma. You know, all those charities, performing all those charities, you cannot attain the Supreme Lord or you cannot please him. He cannot be pleased by that. So he will be, that's what Prahlad Maharaj did in his school. He taught all the demon children and they were all chanting Hari, 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 right? So that's Mahatma. So he will be a Mahabhagavat, he will be a Mahatma. And then he says, Mahanubhavo Mahatam Mahistha. Maha Anubhav, his bhav, you know how he will have natural attraction for the Supreme Personality of God. And Anu means again and again, Maha means great, and Bhav means Bhav. You know, Bhav Bhakti, yeah. Bhava Grahi Janardhan. So he will always be inclined to serve the Supreme Personality of God. Mahatam Mahistha, he will be adored by all the greatest people. Mahatam as in greats and Mahistha. He will be great of the great in that sense. And then Pravriddha Bhaktaya. Pravriddha as in mature. By developing maturity in the bhakti. That's what we are all trying to do. We are struggling for, right? He will develop that mature bhakti. And by developing that mature bhakti, he anubhavitashaye. He will take shelter of that bhav. You understand? First you have that bhav, then you are always under the shelter of that bhav. So then what it means? Then that bhav is protecting you. That bhav is protecting your devotional service. First you develop that bhav, then that bhav is protecting you. You can take it in the sense, dharmo rakshati rakshita. एक रक्षित धर्म रक्षा करने वाले की रक्षा करता है. जब आप भाव डेवलप कर लेंगे, फिर वो भाव ही का आप आश्रय ले लोगे. वो भाव ही फिर आपको आश्रय प्रदान कर देगा. Then no matter whatever happens, that bhav is protecting you. Understand? And then finally, nivesh vaikuntam imam vihasya. Nivesh means जैसे निवेश करते हैं. You know, हमने पैसा निवेश किया, इन्वेस्ट किया. So similarly, nivesh, he will go. He will be invested. Vaikuntham. He will go to the Vaikuntha Dham, to the abode of the Supreme Lord. Imam vihasyati. By living this body, by living this world, he will go back to home, back to God. So such will be the greatness of your grandson. And then many other qualities Kashyap Rishi described. And then finally Maitreya Rishi tells Vidurji that Shrutva. Okay, please repeat. Shrutva Bhagavatam Potram Modata Ditirbrisham Putrayoscha Vadham Krishna Putrayoscha Vadham Krishna Viditva Asinam Mahamanaha. So after Mother Diti heard about that, her grandson Potram will be a Bhagavat, will be a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She became happy at heart. Modatam, unko bahut khushi hui. But then when she heard even greater news that Putra, my sons, Vadham, they will be killed by Krishna. That they will be killed by Krishna, Viditva Mahamana. She became even more happy, right, by finding out that my sons will be killed by Krishna. So this is where this chapter concludes, Prabhuji Mataji, right? So the chapter was titled Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening. But the main focus is now in this chapter or in this context, we have discussed about two incarnations of the Supreme Lord. What are those two incarnations? Vara Bhagwan and Nrsimha Bhagwan. In fact, in one of the previous verses, Kashyap Rishi goes to this extent, he already declares, he says, Swapurusha Ichchetam Anugrahit Rupam. Swapurusha Ichchetam Anugrahit Rupam, that Supreme Lord. You know, Mother Lakshmi, who is his consort all the time, that Supreme Lord who is wearing a helmet of gold, who is so beautiful, who is wearing Pitambar, that Supreme Lord will take any form for the Swapurusha Ichchetam, जिसको भगवान ने अपना मान लिया है. अपने भक्त की इच्छा के लिए भगवान कुछ भी रूप धारण करेंगे. And that roop will be Keshavadhrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jayo Jagadisha Hare Jayo Jagadisha Hare. And he can appear anywhere. Stambhe Sabhayam Namrigam Namanusham. In the 7th canto we will study. Stambhe Sabhayam. He can take any roop and he can appear from anywhere. From that pillar in that assembly, Namrigam Namanusha. Any form can come. So such is the glory. So this is all about the incarnation. Remember today's verse? What was the today's verse? Sadhu Veera Tvaya Prishtam. Sadhu Veera Tvaya Prishtam. Avatar Katham Hare. Avatar Katham Hare. Yatvam Prichasi Martyanam. Yatvam Prichasi Martyanam. Mrityu Pasha Vishatani. Mrityu Pasha Vishatani. So this will cut your Mrityu Pash. You know, and Mrityu Pash is what? Birth, death, old age and disease. So this samsar, yeah. So this chakra ko kaat deta hai. So we'll stop here now. In the next chapter, now what will happen? So up to this point, now we have spoken about the pregnancy of Mother Diti. Now as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, they have entered into the womb of Mother Diti. And Mother Diti knew that my sons will create havoc. They will be troubling all the living entities. She tries to hold her garb for many years. Many years. Because she was concerned as a mother. But then even then, when they were just inside the womb, the whole environment was becoming doomed. And now demigods will go to Brahmaji and they will now pray. So this is what Maitreji was telling Vidurji, that Brahmana Deva Devena Devanam Anuprichatam. When Brahmaji spoke about this incarnation, when all the demigods went in school. So next chapter we'll discuss about that, and we'll talk about how Sanat Kumars went and how Jay and Vijay got cursed. So next chapter is titled Description of the Abode of the Supreme Lord. So we'll stop here. Granthra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande.